What is the worst feeling in the world? The morning after tragedy. You wake up slowly, and at first all you register is that you're warm and pleasantly sleepy. The world is still a good place. Then you remember the previous day, and your stomach drops, and you lose your breath. That abrupt departure from contentment to abject horror is the worst feeling in the world.
It's a rough transition, really. You wake up feeling that warmth, just trying to enjoy the moment. But then reality hits hard, and it's like a punch to the gut. Everything changes in an instant, and you can't shake that feeling of dread. All that comfort is gone, replaced by an emptiness. It's a tough way to start the day, and it lingers. Just reminds you how fragile everything is.
The end of summer as a kid, those seasons seemed to last forever. When they ended, it was always like an age was coming to an end every time. I can remember the simple joy of building campfires, playing in the river behind my friend Pete's house, and the seemingly ever-endless deep blue sky. Of course, the real worst feeling is realizing that you're old, and those summers have ended for good.
Yeah, I get that. Summer days felt infinite back then. Just hanging out by the river, building fires with friends, it all seemed so carefree. Time moves on, and those moments fade away. It's strange how you realize those summer days are a part of childhood that's gone. Now, looking back, it's a mix of nostalgia and a bit of sadness for what's lost. Just a part of growing up, I guess.
Not the worst feeling, but when you've been on holiday or binge watching a show or playing a video game, and it's ended and now you have to go back and face the real world again, deal with all of your responsibilities. Can't I just pretend my whole life is doing nothing? Being an adult, man, reality can bite sometimes.
That's true. When you have to switch back to reality after a good break, it can feel heavy. It's like you were in another world, just enjoying life without worries. Then, bam, you're hit with chores and work. Everyone probably wishes they could just hit pause on adulting and keep relaxing. It's tough to balance fun with responsibilities.
When you're getting to know someone, and she suddenly says she needs to be single for a while to work on personal improvement. If it's really true, I get it. But if not, it hurts to like someone and have them break it off with you and not really tell you why, leaving me wondering what I did wrong or what is wrong with me. Sad face.
It's tough when someone pulls away like that. You think things are going well, then they hit you with the need for space. It makes you question everything. Was it something I said? Did I mess up? It's frustrating not having clarity. Sometimes, people just need time for themselves, and that's okay, but it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. You can only hope they come back when they figure things out.
Fuck, I think that's happening to me now. They were the closest I ever got to a person. We talked every day, and I would stay up till like 5 a.m. to talk to them. Then about a month ago, it just suddenly stopped. We spoke for like 2 minutes since then. We didn't have a massive argument or anything. We literally never argued once. But now they just say, I'm really busy, maybe later, and I understand and can respect that. But it was just so sudden and I never hear from them anymore. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, and this is only temporary, but I'm terrified of losing them.
It's tough when someone you're close to suddenly pulls away. I had a similar thing happen with a friend. We used to talk all the time and then, out of nowhere, it just faded. It's easy to overthink it and start questioning everything. Sometimes, people get caught up in their own lives. It might be temporary, but the uncertainty really gets to you. Just hang in there and see how it goes.
Oh God, I hate this feeling, or when they drop off face of the earth, and you find out that they have a new so, and you just sit there lonely wondering why you don't have a new so, and it's because you can't and won't go through that again. But alas, you find a special someone, have a great connection with them, and you see the old so is broken up, and you think, maybe she will give me a chance, And nope, you should stop there. Don't fuck up this relationship. Because then you'll be typing this while on the toilet wondering what you did with your life and stupid life questions.
Yeah, that feeling hits hard. It's tough seeing someone you cared about move on while you're stuck in your thoughts. I remember when a friend of mine went through something similar. He was so wrapped up in his past that it messed with his chances of moving forward. But that moment of finding someone new can change everything. Just gotta focus on the present and not let the past mess it up again.
After 2 weeks of data collection at work, I want to go feed the last piece into the machine we use. There was a minor fuck up because it was a shitty program and I fixed it. Almost. I must have hit the button that overwrites, not creates a new file, they're side by side. I didn't notice until later when I opened the file, and it seemed smaller than I thought it should be. Midnight rolls around, and I suddenly wake and sit straight up realizing what I had done. So much work lost. A lot of it we could retake, but half of it was impossible to retake since we physically manipulated the samples after. This was a Friday, and I had to wait until Monday to confirm it. Although I was right, my boss is a clever little lady, and she had put in a little backup deal in case the program ever shit the bed on us. And we recovered it, but God was I terrified. All that data came after spending thousands and thousands of government dollars to send a research vessel all the way to Alaska to get samples. And though I deleted all of it.
That sounds like a rough situation. I've had my share of similar moments. Once, I accidentally deleted a project deadline too, and my heart sank. I went into panic mode and lost sleep over it. But just like you, I found out later that my coworker had saved the backup. It's a relief when you think all is lost, and then there's a way out. Just gotta be more careful next time.
You'll wake up every morning, and it'll be the first thing on your mind. Day after day, month after month, possibly year after year. Your first waking moment will send you crashing down as the tragedy strikes your mind first. But then one day, it'll be the second thing you think about. And then you have completed the first step to recovery.
I had a friend who went through a rough patch after losing a family member. At first, it consumed his thoughts every morning. Slowly, over time, he found ways to cope. It took a while, but eventually, he got to a point where he could think about the good memories first. It was a small victory, but it made a difference. It reminded me of how healing can happen little by little.
Particularly if you did it in work, and you're going to be in shit as soon as people inevitably find out. Heart rate increases, face gets red panic. Hey Carl Mango 11, the client is complaining that they didn't get that thing you were supposed to do a long time ago and is super important. But you did it, so I don't understand.
Yeah, I've been there before. I remember missing a deadline at work. Heart was racing, palms sweaty. My boss asked about a project, and I just froze. Turns out I had done it. Just misplaced the files. The relief was huge after finding everything, but the panic leading up to that moment was something else. Mortifying experience, for sure. Can't shake off that feeling easily.
I had 2 months of squeaking by, adding each item up on a calculator to avoid any mistake. 1 week, my son was the only one who ate in our house. I had just started my new job, and my boyfriend simultaneously lost his. Nothing is scarier than wondering if I could feed my son or not. Good thing for relatives and food banks.
It sounds like a tough time. Managing finances can be really stressful, especially when it comes to providing for a child. Those weeks must have felt long, worrying about meals. It's good to hear that you had some support from relatives and food banks. It's a reminder that sometimes people come together in tough situations. Every bit of help counts, and it must have made a difference for you both.
This hit home really hard. I remember a Christmas a few years ago when the family got together at my mom's house, and they started karaoke. Most of my aunts/uncles and cousins went first. Everyone was clapping and cheering, but by the time my turn came around, it seemed that everyone had just lost interest. The older folk went back to the kitchen to get drinks. Some of my cousins went for a smoke. The little kids didn't care. I don't remember what song it was, but when the song ended, I just passed the mic to my little cousin, and he sang some Adele song, and people started cheering again. I went to the bathroom, sat on the toilet with the seat covered down, and just thought about my life and everything. I didn't feel depressed, I just felt empty, like nothing mattered. Excused myself, went home and drank a fifth of gin by myself.
That sounds like a tough moment. It can be rough when you feel like no one is paying attention. It's a strange feeling, getting lost in the crowd, even with family around. I think a lot of people can relate to those moments when things just don't click. It's good you shared your feelings, though. I guess we all have those nights where we just need time to process everything.
I understand this one so much. It's like I have the ability to do almost anything, but end up sitting, just idling, getting through a day looking at an empty browser sometimes. It's one of the worst feelings I've ever come across because there is no immediate way for me to tackle it. Whereas with depression, you can usually find a source problem pretty easily and start making inroads to improve your situation. But with this, I find myself just gradually stopping living and starting to exist.
I get that feeling. Sometimes you have all the potential, but you just can't seem to get going. It's frustrating to sit there, scrolling through an empty browser, as the day slips away. It's like being stuck in neutral. With depression, at least there's a direction to look into. But this feels like just fading away, losing the spark without a clear reason why. It's tough to figure out how to break that cycle.
I want to tell you something. I used to think this way, and to be honest, there are days when I still do, but it's not always the truth. Think about it. If people didn't love you, why in the hell would they put in the effort to tolerate you? If they didn't love you and they didn't like you enough to stay around, then they probably wouldn't be around. If someone puts an effort, that means they care.
I get that. It's easy to doubt sometimes, thinking people stick around for other reasons. But when someone goes out of their way for you, it shows they value you. You notice the little things they do. Even when things get rough, their effort still means something. It's a reminder that connection exists, and sometimes, that's enough to keep going.
I remember your smile with the sun in your eyes, and the smell of the summer, the sound of the breeze. I remember your shape under powder blue skies, under wandering clouds, under whispering trees. I remember the feel of the grass at our back, and the touch of its warmth, and the cool of the shade, and the calls of our friends from the Riverway track, and the season that lasts for an age when it stayed. I remember the fire we built of a night, and the sight of the stars as they slipped in a stream, and the furtive first kiss that we shared by its light, and the simple, impossible, innocent dream. I remember you most in the starlight above, but for you it was fun, and for me it was love.
This takes me back to simpler times, you know? Just hanging out with friends, lying in the grass while the summer breeze rolled by. Those late nights around a fire, staring up at the stars, everything just felt right. It was all so carefree, sharing secrets, and the first real moments of life. I think we all have those memories that stick with us. It was a good time, one I still think about.
That was my first year in medical school. Never had it before, and never had it since. But for 9 months, I suffered from anxiety, agoraphobia. I had to sit on the edge of the aisles and lecture, and occasional panic attacks. My heart rate was constantly over 90, and I didn't sleep well for that entire year. I couldn't reason myself out of it, and when I did, it just got worse. It sucked to go through, but it helps me understand my patients who present with it now. Saying calm down won't help, but reassuring them of their symptoms and telling them that I've been through it and gotten past it definitely helps.
That sounds rough. Going through anxiety and panic attacks is no joke. It must have been tough to focus on school while dealing with that. It's good it helped you connect with your patients later on, though. People often don't really get it unless they've lived it. Sharing your experience probably makes a difference for them. You seem to have turned a tough situation into something positive.
You're definitely not alone. If it's possible, try meditation. It has worked wonders for me for years. It takes some time to get used to, but it helps immensely. Also, if you have a clinical diagnosis, or could get one, do not be afraid of medications. Lots of people always worry about being zombies. If the meds do that to you, tell your doc and get a different RX. I have had recent success with my medication, and I was very worried at first about it messing too much with my brain. Now, I can go out without being psychically sick. I could talk to strangers I like to now, and my overall anxiety is way down. There are minor side effects, but they're all worth it for me. There are plenty of options out there for people like us.
I get that. A friend of mine struggled with anxiety for a while. They started meditating and found it helpful, just like you mentioned. They also decided to try medication after some hesitation. At first, they were anxious about the side effects, but eventually it helped them feel more normal. They can enjoy social situations now without feeling overwhelmed. It's nice to see them thriving, and it shows there are ways to manage this stuff.
The unknown is always the most terrifying. Like, in horror movies, the first portion is always more gripping and unsettling when the true nature of the beast is mysterious. The possibility of the horror is apparently endless. Once the horror has been identified, things just don't have the power, no matter how wretched and disgusting. Sometimes it even becomes a bit of a farce, like in Signs.
I remember watching a horror movie with a friend. We spent the first half just guessing what the monster would be. It was tense. We kept jumping at shadows. But once it was revealed, we ended up laughing at how silly it looked. The build-up was way scarier than the actual creature. It's funny how that works. Sometimes, the fear of the unknown really hits harder than anything that can be shown.
Tell them you miss them. If you aren't talking anymore, doing nothing won't help the situation, but make it worse. If you tell them you miss them, only two things could happen. You start talking again, or they say they don't want to talk to you, and you both stop talking. The second option is already happening. So if you don't take a chance and tell them how you feel, then you won't talk either way.
It's true. Holding back never really helps. A friend of mine had a falling out with someone close. They stayed silent, hoping things would fix themselves. It just got worse. Finally, they reached out and said they missed them. Turns out, the other person felt the same way. It's simple, really. Sometimes you just have to risk it. The silence was only making it worse for both of them.
I took the keys to my ambulance home after a brutal 15-hour shift. I barely made my 45-minute commute without falling asleep, and as I'm starting to undress, my hand closes on that unmistakable brass tag. As I stare at the keys in disbelief, dispatch calls me demanding I bring them back. In a haze of exhaustion, I rant at dispatch about how this is their fault for holding me 3 hours late. It's management's fault for not having 2 sets of keys or emergency unlock buttons, and that I am unable to bring them back, so the other crew can just figure out because I'm going to bed. I'm still not sure why they didn't fire me for that.
Sounds like a rough day for you. I can relate to that feeling of just wanting to crash after a long shift. It's wild how things like forgetting keys can spiral into a rant. I've had my moments too, just too tired to care. Thankfully, it seems they understood where you were coming from. Sometimes, exhaustion gets the best of us, and we say things we might not mean.
I know that feeling. There have been like a few people that I've known that have passed. Like a kid from the grade below me in HS, or this girl that was in some of my classes in college. People I recognized, but pretty much had zero conversations with. My grandparents all passed when I was under 10 years old. So, eventually, it's inevitable, I guess. Someone close to me will pass, and it will devastate me.
It's a tough reality to face. Losing people you've known, even if just slightly, hits harder than you expect. I've had my share of acquaintances who left too soon. Each loss serves as a reminder of how fragile life is. When someone truly close goes, it just shakes everything up. It's part of life, but that doesn't make it easier. Just makes you appreciate the time you have.
Yes, just yesterday, I was at the store and had a very bare card because we had some tragedies over Christmas. When I went to pay my card was declined. Seeing my daughter's face fall when she realized what that meant was the most horrible thing I've ever felt. I took a few things off and my card went through, but it was humiliating for me to see that on my daughter's face. Life won't always be this hard, baby girl. We just gotta get our feet under us again.
That's a tough situation. It's hard to see a kid disappointed, especially in those moments when you just want to make things right. Taking off items to make the payment go through must have felt pretty bad. You just hope things get better and that you can bounce back from the tough times. Life has its ups and downs, and sometimes it's about staying strong together.
And then when you finally get to the point where you aren't thinking about it 24/7, it'll hit you at random times throughout the day and completely disrupt whatever you're doing. Just cooked a nice meal for yourself and realize you're eating it alone? Bam! Suddenly your heart has dropped into your stomach and you've lost any kind of appetite you had to begin with.
I get that. There are moments when everything feels fine, and then just like that, you remember something that hits hard. I was cooking dinner once, thinking about my day, and then it just washed over me. A simple meal turned into a reminder of what I was missing. It's weird how something so normal can trigger those feelings out of nowhere. It kind of stings, you know?
I wish I had the money to give you gold. I feel the same way. Today I contacted my two best friends who I rarely seen anymore. I asked what they were doing and if they wanted to hang out in a group chat. I didn't get a text back from one, and the other responded back 4 hours later, saying he was at a friend's house. I never really hang out with anyone anymore. I'm lost my two best friends ever. One just hangs out with his GF all the time, and the other has completely ditched me for his other friends. It's been like this for a year now, and as we all are seniors in HS, I'm going to probably never see them again after graduation. So I'm slowly getting closer and closer to being truly alone.
It's tough when friendships fade, especially during this time. You reach out hoping for connection but end up feeling ignored. A lot of people get caught up in their own lives, and it hurts to watch friends drift away. Graduation is coming, and it feels like everything is changing. Being alone can be hard, but maybe it's also a chance to explore new friendships or interests. Just take it one step at a time.
You just made me cry, cause I'm going through all this shit as we speak with my long-distance girlfriend. We've been doing all that, and now it just seems like she got a life to live that doesn't involve me. Shit sucks, but life goes forward. Be a good man. Life is full of amazing shit to do experience, even if it's without your soulmate. Personally, I think there is more than one of those, so don't lose hope.
Long distance can really mess with your head. I remember a similar situation with a friend who felt left out while their partner was busy. It stings to think you're not part of their life. But yeah, life keeps moving, and there are plenty of new experiences waiting. It's tough now, but holding on to hope can make a difference. Just remember, connections come in many forms.
Focus on yourself instead of trying to date other people when you know it's not going to work out. You comparing these other girls to the one you're in love with is only going to result in more people getting hurt and you putting onto someone else what you're already feeling. If it sucked for you, it'll suck for them too.
It's true. I went through a phase where I tried to date again after a tough breakup. I kept comparing everyone to my ex, which just made things awkward. It wasn't fair to those new people. I realized I needed to focus on myself first, deal with my feelings, and not drag anyone else down with my unfinished business. Just a lesson learned the hard way, I guess.
I know the feeling. I've been through countless you need to move on S over the last couple months, and all they've done is show me that she could, and I still break down all the time. You know what? Forget her. You don't need her, and you'll be fine without her. In the meantime, leave all the goddamn laundry around your place you want, LOL. There can't be anyone stopping you. I found that when the relationship was shattering, I had a psychological need for this girl. She used to be my best friend. Haven't talked to her in months, and that's okay. It should be for you too. You're not going to notice it, but time will work its magic, and although the pain never really does go away, it isn't going to matter soon enough. She'll just be a name in a long list of past relationships when you finally find the one you're looking for.
It's tough when something ends, especially when they were part of your daily life. I get it. I've had friends pull the move on talk, but it rarely helps. Sometimes, you just need to sit with the feelings. Letting things pile up around the place is a small way to take back control. Eventually, time shifts the perspective. That person fades, and you realize it's just a chapter, not the whole story.
Same here, man. I'm assuming you're a man. Not sure how to handle it. I want to cut off ties, but it would send me into a depression, and she would likely get over it rather quick, and then I'd have to see you on Facebook. Terrible feeling. Feels like I can't enjoy anything, ever, at all, ad infinitum.
It's tough when you want to move on, but the thought of losing someone hangs over you. I get that feeling of wanting to cut ties, but also being scared of the fallout. You end up stuck in this loop where every little thing reminds you of them. It can really drain your energy and affect your mood. Just trying to find a balance can be a struggle. You're not alone in that.
Yeah? What about falling for you friend who's dating another guy who's also your friend, and you're the one giving the guy advice on how to keep the girl, as well as spending time with the girl yourself, going shopping with her, working with her, school with her, doing homework and studying with her, and basically spending more time being with her than her boyfriend is. All the while being here, telling her he cares for you, and helping the boyfriend do what's best for the girl. Oh, and you might wonder why I'm helping him? Because he seems to make her happy. She's been into him for like 1 to 2 years now, and he finally asked her out.
That sounds like a tough situation. It's weird to be in the role of a supporter, while also having feelings for her. Helping out her boyfriend while spending so much time with her must feel conflicting. It's like you're in the middle of a love triangle, juggling loyalty to both sides. I guess you just want what's best for her, but it's complicated when your own feelings are involved.
I have anxiety issues too, and the times when I'm most calm and productive is when I'm traveling. Something about being out of my element and rationally knowing I'm out of my element helps me keep everything in check. I've never been able to pinpoint exactly why, but maybe there's some correlation there.
I can relate to that. Traveling does change the perspective. When you're in a different place, the routine is disrupted, and that can be refreshing. It's like a reset button for your mind. Sometimes just being in a new environment gives a sense of clarity, allowing you to focus better. I think it's a common feeling among those who deal with anxiety.
I'm having it right now. Smoking weed one time led to a severe panic attack, and now my anxiety is alive as it has never been before. Fear of sudden death of yourself or a loved one is excruciating. Knowing that it will very likely not happen doesn't help. You just feel it. You know it's not impossible. Writing this makes me feel stupid because I know I shouldn't worry about it, yet I do. It sucks.
It's tough when something like that triggers intense anxiety. A friend of mine had a similar experience with anxiety hitting hard after a bad trip. They felt like they were stuck in a loop of worry, even when logic said otherwise. It's hard to shake those feelings. Sometimes talking about it helps, but it's a struggle for sure. It makes you feel alone, even when you're not. Just takes time to work through it.
No joke. I used to think I was dying. Thankfully, I haven't experienced it in quite a while, but it was terrifying. However, this was also around the same time I used to lucid dream frequently. I haven't had a good lucid dream in ages. I would assume the two were related, though I have no idea what triggered either and what eventually led them to stop.
I can relate to that feeling of thinking something is seriously wrong. I went through a phase where I felt really detached from reality. It's strange how stress can mess with your mind and sleep. I used to have lucid dreams too, where I could control what happened. But then, like you, they just stopped. It's kind of unsettling when you don't know why.
What's funny is that prior to being arrested, there was another incident in my free pass. I was drunk as hell at about 6 p.m. and completely cut off a cop on a pretty major road, Woodward Avenue to be specific for any Michiganders out there. I was bombed. My friend who was on probation for a DUI was bombed, and I had an ounce of weed in my glove compartment. Because I'm an alcoholic, I always kept a travel-sized toothpaste in my car. Before the cop made his way to my window, my friend shoved the pot under her seat, so it wouldn't fly out when I got my insurance and registration, and I just about ate the entire tube of toothpaste. The cop was irate, but I didn't even get a ticket. The night I got arrested, I was driving a rental car. No toothpaste in the front dash. Go figure.
That sounds like a wild night. I've had my share of close calls too. Once, I was driving home after a party, feeling invincible. I ended up taking a wrong turn and almost hit a curb. Just then, a cop passed by, but I managed to play it cool. No tickets or anything, just a reminder to be smarter next time. Funny how things can go sideways when you're not thinking straight.
I had a dream shortly after my mom died where the family was in the kitchen and I was opening Christmas presents and got excited. Then I said, "I'm dreaming." Mom asked me why I thought that, and I answered that she was dead. Then she looked at me and everyone froze like someone hit pause, and I woke up. Sad face.
That's a heavy dream. It's strange how our minds can combine memories with feelings like that. I've had dreams where people are there who aren't around anymore, and it feels oddly real. It's like a moment to connect, even if it's just for a bit. Those experiences can leave a mark, but they also remind us of the good times we had with them.
Worst dream I've ever had was when I dreamed my grandma died and everyone got together for her wake. I saw a friend in the corner and I was absolutely thrilled to see him. It felt like it had been forever and we were so tight, so I couldn't figure out why it felt like it had been so long. Then I realized he had died years before. This was years ago, and even remembering that feeling makes me want to cry again.
That dream sounds really heavy. It's strange how dreams can bring back such strong emotions. The joy of seeing a friend, only to remember they're gone, hits hard. It reminds us of the bonds we had and the loss we carry. Those moments stick with us, even years later. It's a tough mix of nostalgia and sadness. Definitely makes you appreciate the time we have with loved ones.
Pharmacy technician. It isn't hard to get into, and the pay can be twice what you're making now. Get on with a CVS or comparable. Take the certification as soon as you can to get a raise. There are regular techs and then certified techs in many states. Most pharmacies will pay for the study guide and reimburse you for taking the cert. Exam. It can have high turnover, but as a mom, you're probably great at multitasking and handling stress. Go to your state's pharmacy board website and find out what you need to do to get licensed. Do not get suckered and pay to take a tech course if your state has no such requirement. They are not necessary. You can learn everything on the job and through a general study guide to get certified. Good luck.
That's some solid advice about becoming a pharmacy technician. A friend of mine jumped into it when he needed a better job. He found the certification process straightforward, and the pay was a nice upgrade from what he had. He didn't bother with any courses either, just got some materials online. It worked out well for him, and he seems to handle the stress just fine. It's definitely a job worth considering.
Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.